Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lin. Namaskar, happy Holi to all our viewers in India and across the world. Coming up in NewsHour. Israel strikes dozens of Iranian targets, including Tehran security sites. 11 dead near Beirut presidential palace strike. Iran guards say that they've launched more than 40 missiles at the US and Israeli targets. The President of Finland, Dr. Alexander Stubb, arrives on a visit to India to attend the 11th Raisina Dialogue in New Delhi. South Africa and New Zealand lock horns in the first semi-final of the ICC T20 World Cup at the Eden Gardens today. The Proteas aimed to extend their perfect run as the Kiwis seek redemption. And Holi, the festival of colours, is being celebrated across the country, bringing joy, unity, love and a spirit of togetherness. President Murmu and Prime Minister Modi extend their greetings. In breaking news coming in this hour from West Asia, Israel says that they've struck dozens of Iranian targets, including Tehran security sites. The Israeli Defense Forces, in fact, the defense minister, he has said that any successor to Iran's Khamenei is also a target for assassination. An airstrike hit Hezbollah's bastion in the southern suburbs of Beirut on Wednesday, after an evacuation order from the Israeli army. The strike follows a series of deadly raids that for the first time targeted a Beirut neighborhood near the presidential palace, leaving 11 people dead. Kuwait Health Ministry says that they have said that a girl, 11, was killed by falling shrapnel. And these are the breaking headlines that are coming in, the breaking news that's coming in at this hour. Now, the Iran guards have also said that they have launched more than 40 missiles at the United States and at Israeli targets. And Iran has decided to hold a state funeral as well for Ayatollah Khamenei on Wednesday evening. This is what the state TV has broadcast. And Dubai, Abu Dhabi markets reopen lower after the attacks, and the US has said that they've ordered non-emergency consular staff in Karachi, Lahore to leave Pakistan. All these are developments surrounding the West Asia crisis. US says that non-emergency staff have been granted permission to leave Cyprus. The Iranian guards, they say they have complete control over the Strait of Hormuz. And the US also says that its Navy will guard the safe passage of ships through the Hormuz Strait. So clear lines drawn for confrontation, and that continues. We see all this happening as we speak. Akhilesh Suman is following the story very closely, and he joins us with more on this. Akhilesh, it's the fifth day. And, the economic repercussions are beginning to be felt in the extended neighborhood. The Sri Lankan president has asked, that peace be restored fast because the economy is being affected.
That's very good of Sri Lankan president, because it was India who has been speaking about dialogue and diplomacy should take the primacy. And now another South Asian country, another country of global South, Sri Lanka, that is very important in the Indo-Pacific, is speaking about the same thing. I think it's a very welcome step. And other than that, that French President Emmanuel Macron is telling that he would call a meeting of financial, giants, means finance ministers of G7. I think that is also an important development in the whole situation, because finances are really getting disturbed. People are feeling brunt of the whole war that is going on, and
Yes.
other than that, the whole Strait of Hormuz that has been closed by Iranians. Iranians have declared that the Strait of Hormuz has been closed And U.S. Assistance has not reached there till now. U.S. though has declared that they will send the Navy in that area, but that area, U.S. has not reached that area. So in that situation, I think the global oil and gas crisis will be
Okay,
really.
Akhilesh, you did mention about the Strait of Hormuz, but President Trump says that, oil prices are going to stabilize soon. In his presence, in fact, the German Chancellor was sitting there, and he said that it is affecting his economy. So how long does the U.S. expect this war to last?
Actually, the whole of Europe is facing the crisis of energy for the last 4 years. You know that because of Russia-Ukraine war, I have got an opportunity to visit one of the European countries, and I saw that that's really in front of the lift. It is being written that please don't use the lift, use the stairs. That type of notices were never in Europe, but now it is there. And after Russia-Ukraine war is still continuing, and now it is the another war, Iran, Israel and USA. So, and Europe is a region. Europe is a closer region to the Gulf. So, I think Europe has to be very cautious, and that is why German Chancellor went to meet Donald Trump. And I think that more, states may do the same thing because Europe is the closest and America is the farthest. So in that situation, it is not Americans, but it is the Europeans, it is the Asians who are facing the situation. Today also you have seen that, Sri Lankan Navy, rescued a few Iranian sailors who were getting drowned near the Sri Lankan island. So
okay.
Not known that what is happening in the whole world, who is attacking whom, but what are the causes. But it is very disturbing situation. And also after the announcement of IDF, that any leader who takes after Khamenei, that will be a problem because there will be no leadership in Iran. In this type of vacuum, I think that who is going to talk from Iranian side, that is also a big question. So one has to see that whom will they talk. The president is not coming forward. The foreign minister is talking, but whether he is effective or not. And in the American side, there is no one to talk. Everyone is taking the unilateral decision, unilateral statements. So it is just confrontation and confrontation. The only voice is coming from India that talk and talk, use dialogue and diplomacy.
True. Thanks very much, Akhilesh Suman, for putting things into context of the fast developments that are taking place in West Asia on the fifth day of the war between the United States, Israel and Iran. Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been reportedly elected as Iran's new supreme leader. The report suggests that Mujtaba has been chosen as the successor to his father by Iran's Assembly of Experts. However, no independent confirmation has come from official Iran state media on this development. Mujtaba is the second son of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and he has long been seen as a potential successor. Mujtaba Khamenei was born in 1969 in Mashhad, and he grew up during the years when his father was active in opposing the Shah before Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution. Mujtaba has never held public office and is not a high-ranking cleric. However, he is believed to exercise considerable influence behind the scenes. And he served in the Iranian armed forces as well during the Iran-Iraq war, and is known for his close links to the powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. In 2024, Iran's Assembly of Experts met to plan the supreme leader's succession. The Ayatollah Khamenei said at that time that his son should be excluded from consideration. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that he believed that Iran was preparing to strike first. His latest explanation for the Iran attack amid shifting accounts from his administration on why the war started. Trump's timeline for Iran's operation has shifted since it began. He first told the Daily Mail that it could take 4 weeks or less. Then he told the New York Times 4 to 5 weeks. In separate remarks on Sunday and on Monday, He left open the possibility that the operation could continue longer until its objectives are achieved. Earlier, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the United States launched the attack because of fears that Iran would retaliate in response to planned Israeli action against Tehran.
We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people, people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. The purpose of this is to destroy that missile capability. Why does Iran want that ballistic missile capability? What they are trying to do and have been trying to do for a very long time.
And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that the U.S. military campaign was laser-focused at dismantling Iran's offensive capacity, not pursuing regime change, though he said that Iran's leadership had been dealt a severe blow. Donald Trump also directed the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation to offer political risk insurance and financial guarantees for ships trading in the Gulf. He also said that the United States Navy could escort oil tankers through Hormuz Strait if necessary. The U.S. President also said that most of the people that he had considered as potential future leaders of Iran are now dead. His comments came as Washington continues to weigh its strategy towards Iran following heightened military tensions.
Well, most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group, they may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody.
The U.S. President threatened to impose a full U.S. trade embargo on Spain after the European and NATO ally refused to let the U.S. military use its bases for missions linked to strikes on Iran.
Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership. And as you know, they were the only country that in NATO would not agree to go up to 5%. I don't think they would have agreed to go up to anything. They wanted to keep it at 2%, and they don't pay the 2%. So we're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain.
Meanwhile, Iran's ambassador to the United Nations, Ali Bahraini, has ruled out any negotiations with the United States following joint U.S.-Israel strikes on his country.
There has been no any approach to the United States, to the President of the United States. There hasn't been any contact from our side. Now, the only language for talking with the United States is the language of defense. And for the time being, we are focused on defending our country.
Well, we have some more details now on West Asia and the situation there. The U.S. has severely degraded Iran's air defenses and destroyed hundreds of Iran's ballistic missiles, launchers and drones in its Operation Epic Fury. The U.S. military said that American forces had struck nearly 2,000 targets so far in Iran as part of this largest firepower buildup in the region in a generation. The command said that the first 24 hours of this operation were nearly double the scale of the first day of shock and awe strikes on Iraq in 2003. They've also informed that they are continuing with 24/7 strikes into Iran, and there is not a single Iranian ship underway which is moving around in the Arabian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz or Gulf of Oman. The U.S. says that they've destroyed 17 Iranian ships The U.S. has identified 4 American soldiers as well who have been killed in the early days of this war with Iran. The soldiers were killed on the 1st of March 2026 at the port of Shaiba, which is in Kuwait, during a drone attack. Israel's military also said that they've launched a broad wave of strikes on targets in Iran after the Islamic Republic fired rounds of missile barrages at Israeli targets and territory. So in the first 24 hours, hundreds of fighter jets and aircraft have been striking hundreds of targets simultaneously in Iran and Lebanon. Israel also hit the covert Mizdaneh compound that was used as a group of nuclear, it was used by a group of nuclear scientists who operated to develop a key component for nuclear weapons. The Israeli military also said that they had deployed troops, and this is to several locations in southern Lebanon in what they've described as a forward defense measure along the border. Iran has launched over 500 ballistic missiles and over 2,000 drones in retaliatory attacks, as per reports. Israel intercepted missiles over Jerusalem, West Bank and Tel Aviv. The Central Intelligence Agency's station at the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia was hit. The embassy, which is located in the Saudi capital of Riyadh, is among the U.S. sites that have been hit so far in the conflict. Washington's mission in the kingdom subsequently warned Americans to avoid the embassy until further notice due to an attack on the facility. And news coming in from France now, and the French economy and finance minister Roland Lescure has said on Wednesday that the country is planning a meeting of the G7 finance ministers on the West Asia crisis, with central bankers also in attendance. The French finance minister said that he has spoken with various counterparts, in particular the U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent as well. And he further said that all leaders have agreed to hold this meeting, which will take place at the beginning of next week. The West Asia analyst Badr al-Saif said that European nations need to extend greater support to their Gulf partners. He stressed that backing the region does not mean joining the war, but requires Europe to clearly signal its position instead of relying on the United States.
We cannot depend on the U.S. for main security guarantees. And here, the Gulf states, and I sit in Kuwait City, but the Gulf states in Europe share that we've long depended on the U.S. and their defense mechanism. And I think it behooves us to strike a more independent path and probably even strengthen our ties as middle powers between the EU and the Gulf, something that we've already started doing. So I think, yes, increase defense spendings, but also increase partnerships across the board that includes the U.S., but not only the U.S.
Sri Lanka has deployed naval vessels and aircraft to assist an Iranian warship in distress about 40 nautical miles off the southern coast of Galle. The operation was launched on the instructions of the Ministry of Defense, with the Sri Lankan Navy leading search and rescue efforts. The Iranian frigate IRIS Dana reportedly issued a distress call from waters just outside Sri Lanka's territorial limits. Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister Vijita Herath said around 180 sailors were on board and that 30 crew members have been rescued so far. The authorities have not yet released details of the incident. Continuing with the tensions in West Asia, the Ministry of External Affairs has expressed deep concern at the commencement of the conflict in Iran and the Gulf region on the 28th of February. It said that India had urged all sides to exercise restraint, avoid escalation and prioritize the safety of civilians. But unfortunately, in the holy month of Ramzan, the situation in the region has deteriorated significantly and continuously. The destruction and deaths have mounted even as normal life and economic activities come to a halt. There are almost 10 million Indians who live, Indian citizens in fact, who live and work in the Gulf region, and their safety and well-being is of utmost priority. Any major disruption has serious consequences for the Indian economy. As a country whose nationals are prominent in the global workforce, India is also firmly opposed to attacks on merchant shipping, where some Indian nationals have lost their lives or are missing. India reiterates its call for dialogue and diplomacy. Indian embassies and consulates in the affected countries are in close touch with Indian nationals and community organizations. The Prime Minister and External Affairs Minister have held discussions with their counterparts in the Gulf region. The statement added that the government will continue to closely monitor the evolving situation and take relevant decisions in the national interest. Amid escalating tensions in West Asia, the Government of India has set up an interministerial group to monitor developments in West Asia on a daily basis and to assess potential vulnerabilities in shipping, logistics, exports and critical imports. The government is closely monitoring the evolving maritime security situation in the Persian Gulf and has strengthened precautionary measures to safeguard Indian flagged vessels and also Indian seafarers who are operating in that region. Let's look at this report.
In a significant development amid the ongoing West Asia conflict, the Indian government has set up an interministerial group which is closely monitoring developments in West Asia on a daily basis. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal on Tuesday said that the interministerial group will assess any vulnerabilities in shipping, logistics, export, and even critical imports and will coordinate with interministerial actions. Amid the evolving geopolitical situation, India's Petroleum and Natural Gas Minister Hardeep Singh Puri on Tuesday said that India is well stocked with crude oil and inventories on key petroleum products including petrol, diesel, and ATF to deal with short-term disruptions arising from West Asia. As the situation remains volatile, Air India on Tuesday welcomed passengers and crew arriving from Dubai on board flight at Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi. This marked the first international arrival by an Indian carrier into the national capital, carrying 149 passengers and 8 operating crew members. Indian citizens who arrived in New Delhi and Mumbai on Tuesday thanked the Indian and UAE governments for their support.
Of course, when you hear the noises, you feel scared, but otherwise, there was life as normal, and we felt very safe. The government did every way to make us residents, feel safe, or tourists feel safe.
You are scared unless and until you are on your motherland. It is scary. You think कि नहीं यार situation यहाँ से बिगड़ सकती है.
Meanwhile, more than 250 flights were cancelled at Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru, and Chennai airports on Tuesday due to the West Asia conflict. For the fourth day, flight operations continued to be disrupted as airlines cancelled flights amid the escalating conflict involving the United States, Israel, and Iran. According to officials, as many as 80 flights were cancelled at the Delhi airport, while 107 services were cancelled at the Mumbai airport. Some airlines, including Emirates, have partially started operations to and from West Asia. India's Directorate General of Shipping in a statement has informed that 3 Indian seafarers serving on board foreign flagged vessels were killed and 1 person was injured amid the escalating tensions in the West Asia region. The Directorate General of Shipping said there have been 4 incidents in the Persian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, Gulf of Oman, and adjoining sea areas involving Indian seafarers. Due to the heightened risk perception in Tehran city, the Embassy of India in Iran has relocated most Indian students who were in Tehran to safer locations outside the city. In an advisory, the embassy said it has made arrangements for their transportation, food, and accommodation. It added that only a small number of students who declined the embassy's offer remain in Tehran. Bureau Report, DD India.
And the President of Finland, Dr. Alexander Stubb, arrived in India on a 4-day visit in New Delhi. And upon his arrival, the President of Finland, Stubb, was welcomed with a guard of honor. President Stubb will be the chief guest and the keynote speaker at the 11th Raisina Dialogue 2026 in New Delhi. This will be the first visit of President Stubb to India in his present capacity. During the visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Alexander Stubb will also hold discussions on strengthening bilateral cooperation across a wide spectrum of areas. They will exchange perspectives on regional and global issues of mutual interest, including cooperation in multilateral fora. President Stubb will meet President of India Draupadi Murmu, Vice President C.P. Radhakrishnan and External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. President Stubb will also thereafter visit Mumbai, where he will interact with Indian business leaders and attend an India-Finland business event. India and Finland share warm, friendly and multifaceted relations rooted in shared democratic values. Finland is a valued partner of India in the European Union and the Nordic region. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcomed Finland's President Alexander Stubb as he arrived in India to participate in the Raisina Dialogue 2026. Taking to the social media platform X, Prime Minister Modi wrote, "Welcome to India, President Alexander Stubb. I fully agree with you. Your visit will take India-Finland relations to new heights. I eagerly look forward to our meeting tomorrow and to your keynote address at the Raisina Dialogue 2026. Still to come here on DD India Newshour, we'll get you an expert analysis on how to decode what's happening in the Iran war. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Mark Lynn. Here's a recap of our main stories. Israel strikes dozens of Iranian targets, including Tehran security sites. 11 dead near Beirut presidential palace strike. Iran guards say that they've launched more than 40 missiles at the US and Israeli targets. The President of Finland, Dr. Alexander Stubb, has arrived in India on a visit to attend the 11th Raisina Dialogue in New Delhi. South Africa and New Zealand will be locking horns in the first semi-final of the ICC T20 World Cup at the Eden Gardens today. The Proteas aim to extend their perfect run as the Kiwis seek redemption. And to break down what's happening in West Asia, we have with us Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunayat, former senior diplomat who's joining us. Ambassador Trigunayat, thank you very much for being with us. How stable do you think Iran's internal political structure is at the current time?
Well, it is at the moment holding out, and I think that they had created sufficiently dispersed security architecture, as well as the political architecture, even in the past 8 months, as Khamenei himself was quite aware that he could be taken out any time. So we have seen that now a three-member interim council has been created, and there would be the experts committee that will decide and propose the name of the new head of state or the chairman or another Ayatollah. Right. We'll have to see who comes out eventually. A lot will depend on how the IRGC. At the same time, we have seen that their military architecture has also been quite diffused, and therefore the commanders have full knowledge of exactly what they have to do, fearing that the central command structure could go down. So I think that at the moment, there is no real threat, if we were to talk today, to the regime, because the regime has been institutionalized and is also supported by more than half of the Iranians. But of course, going forward, if there'll be more casualties, there'll be more difficulties, and there'll be more disruptions, then obviously this could swing. On the other hand, very often when the external interventions take place, people do get together. First, they want to sort out that problem and then eventually see how they will deal with their own differences. So everything is up in the air at the moment.
Indeed, Ambassador Trigunayat, also, how are Iran's relationships then with China, Russia and the EU evolving, and what leverage does Tehran currently hold?
Well, unfortunately, I mean, one has seen that except for statements coming out of everywhere, very little on the ground has been seen from China or Russia. Of course, President Putin has condemned the Iranian and Chinese relations have been extremely good. And with the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, China's economic supplies of the energy supplies will also be interrupted. European Union is also a divided house. As you know, Spain refused to the US to use the bases from there. There are other countries who are not on board, but several of the countries like UK and France have joined, and they have also deployed their bunkers. But at the moment, I think the international community needs to gear up and try to bring down the tempers and get the cessation of hostilities at the earliest. It looks unlikely, given if we leave it to only 3 actors which are currently in the war. Of course, as you know, that Iran had also been hitting the US assets and bases in the Gulf.
Yes.
And that is something that has added a dangerous dimension to these. Perhaps their idea was that it will impress upon all these countries to take it up with the United States, not to go. Of course, as you know, earlier they were all telling President Trump not to attack. But if you were to believe Rubio, who said that since Israel were determined to go attack and take out Khamenei, they had to join. Of course, they are retracting from that. So their goalposts have been changing, like they're shifting goalposts during the negotiations, which were almost nearing that place.
Right.
Now, today, President Trump is saying that if we had not attacked, then Iran could have attacked us. I mean those are the kind of things that are unbelievable and do not stand good to any reason or intelligence.
But Iran, of course, in the past and even to some extent now, projects power through its proxies and alliances, you know, Hezbollah, Houthis, militia in Iraq and Syria. How strong are these groups?
Well, I think, as you know, there are 4H is their proxies. One is Hamas, Hezbollah, Kataib Hezbollah, and Houthis. At the moment, Houthis are still in the play, and they can create more disruptions, especially in the Red Sea and Strait of Hormuz. And so navigation and economic distress, energy supplies, trade, all can be impacted by these. They still are there. They have also attacked some of the Israeli cities, the Houthis. As far as Hezbollah is concerned, for Hezbollah, basically, Ayatollah Khamenei was their spiritual and religious leader as well. So they want to take the to avenge his death, and they have once again started attacking. But I think that they have been quite decimated in their influence, until unless, of course, there are the pitched battles with the Israelis, and then only they have some kind of leeway. But in terms of missile hitting and all, they can definitely 30 kilometers away is only
Right.
Israel from them, so they can create damage there. So they will definitely be supporting Iran. Because Iran is at the moment continuing with their attack, maybe somewhat reduced, but they're continuing with it. They still have some other drones and new kind of missiles. If they start using those, maybe they're keeping it for a later time. But if that could cause more damage. So we'll have to see how it evolves. But of course, United States is the hyperpower of the world, and they have tremendous capacities compared to Iran. But if you want to change regime, if you want to control the country, and want not this country to go into complete chaos, you need to have the boots on the ground, which I doubt very much the Americans will have that kind of a resolve.
Ambassador Trigunayat, what impact, has sanctions had, oil market fluctuations, the economic mismanagement, some would say, within Iran had on its economy? And is this also shaping public sentiment?
Well, surely. I mean, I think that Iran has been for decades under the severe sanctions. But despite those sanctions, it has continued to manage the affairs, which were, of course, in recent times had started telling a little more. And that's why we saw in December all those protests when Rial went for 6. And, we saw that how the people were very dissatisfied at the moment. And of course, the regime was able to control. And more importantly, President Trump had said that he will support them. So this was being both internally, I would say sui generis, or it was also being externally induced, as happened in many other countries. But of course, their people are unhappy. There is a great impact on their economy, on their purchasing power, on the inflation. But at this moment, I think most of the Iranians would be thinking whether their country will survive. And there are other things they can look at it later.
Also, what role does youth discontent, if there are, after all, many of the protests are led by the youth, and also women's rights movements play in potential reform of Iran?
I think that Iranians had to undertake some of the reforms after Mahsa Amini's. If you remember, in 2022, the lady was killed, and since then the women can not compulsorily wearing the hijab or other things. So that was there very much. Women were more vocal also. They were allowed, because then the regime realized that they cannot completely control them to this way. And so they were gradually giving in. But as you know, this is a conservative regime. And the conservative regimes obviously will not give in, because then they will think that this will loosen their grip on the society. I mean, you remember that when Shah was there, he tried to liberalize to the extent, modernize, and that became his Waterloo, frankly. And eventually, because the country is divided quite a bit into the conservatives and those who want modernity.
We'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunayat, former Ambassador of India. Thank you for putting that into context. Now, Nepal is set to vote on the 5th of March in a high-stakes election. The election comes months after mass protests reshaped the country's political landscape and also brought in an interim government. With nearly 19 million eligible voters, including 800,000 first-time voters, the outcome could determine Nepal's direction at a critical crossroads. Siddharth Bharadwaj has a report.
I'm standing here in Kathmandu, where Nepal is gearing up for crucial elections on 5th of March. After months of political turmoil and historic leadership changes, the voters are preparing to decide the country's next chapter.
Come March 5, Nepal will go to the polls. These elections mark the first national vote since violent protests rocked the Himalayan Republic in September 2025. The significance of these polls remains high, as they will decide the future direction of the country. In fact, the youth are expected to play a pivotal role in determining who will lead the nation at a major political crossroads. On September 8, Nepal witnessed widespread protests across the country. It all began after the government imposed a ban on social media sites, citing that tech companies had failed to meet the deadline to register under new guidelines. The ban angered the country's youth, who took to the streets. However, the protests later evolved into an anti-corruption movement, ultimately resulting in the toppling of the KP Sharma Oli government. On September 12, 2025, Nepal saw history in the making when former Chief Justice Sushila Karki was sworn in as interim Prime Minister, becoming the first woman to hold the top post. According to official data, nearly 19 million Nepalis are eligible to vote, including 800,000 first-time voters. The country is divided into 7 provinces: Kosi Province, Madhesh Province, Bagmati Province, Gandaki Province, Lumbini Province, Karnali Province, and Sudur Paschim Province. Key political parties contesting the election include the RSP, Congress, UML, NCP, RPP, PSPN, Janamat, and UNP, along with several other smaller parties. The main contenders are a mix of veteran leaders and fresh faces, from former Prime Minister and leader of the Communist Party UML KP Sharma Oli to Nepali Congress leader Gagan Thapa and 35-year-old Balendra Shah, one of the most talked about figures in this election. A former rapper and civil engineer, Shah rose to prominence as a popular mayor of Kathmandu. With a mixed electoral system in the country, voters will elect 275 members of parliament through a combination of first-past-the-post voting and proportional representation. The key issues driving the vote are corruption, jobs in the economy, foreign relations, climate concerns, and local governance.
The people of Nepal are looking forward to voting in the upcoming elections with great hope. The country's next government will determine much about its future, including its political direction, foreign policy, especially in relation to its neighbors. With camera person Vishwabandhu, this is Siddharth Bharadwaj reporting for DD India in Kathmandu, Nepal.
And Siddharth, who filed that report, is joining us also now from Kathmandu with an update. Siddharth, so we've played out your report and, you've clearly mentioned all the issues. Tell us a little bit about, the process of election in Nepal. What's expected? How do people go out and vote? And also about the silence period that's currently on.
Okay, so Mark, currently the silence period is on in Nepal, and which means that no political party can campaign and no political party can put a social media post, as far as the campaigning is concerned, and a special vigil regarding the artificial intelligence, the data, which is posted online through artificial intelligence. A special vigil is being kept on that. As far as the electoral process in Nepal is concerned, Mark, then Nepal has a mixed electoral system. There are 2 processes through which any government is selected in Nepal. Number one is first past the post, which is also the direct voting. So to elect the 275 members of parliament, and these are the elections of House of Representatives, people go out and vote, and this is a direct vote. Number 2 is the proportional representation. So what happens in the first past the post is that people usually go out and vote for the members, in their area, and this is a direct voting. Number 2 comes the proportional representation, for which 110 seats are there in the 275 member of parliament, the House of Representatives, for which the election is there this time around in Nepal. So that is done later. The results, according to the Election Commission of Nepal, is that within 24 hours, the EC has promised the results of the first past the post voting, and for the proportional representation voting, there could be another 2 to 3 days. But if it is the case, then it is much better than the last time's election, in which around more than 2 weeks were taken while announcing the results. So, that clearly shows on that the process is happening at a very fast rate.
Right.
Apart from that, Nepal goes to polls on March 5th, Mark, and people are really, really excited here.
Indeed. Talking
Nepal,
about the excitement of the people, Siddharth.
For which they are going to vote is actually to get rid of the corruption. They want good governance. They want the governance to focus on the youth. They want the government, the upcoming government, to generate more and more employment opportunities for the people here, so that they don't have to go out in other countries. They stay in their own country and work. Because when you stay in your own country, there are a lot many things which you can do, which you can't do when you are actually working in the other country. So these are some of the issues. And when the intense campaigning also happened, for these elections for 15 days, the political parties and leaders, they promised the people of Nepal that if they will be elected and they will come to power, then they will, the first thing which they will work on is the corruption. They will remove the corruption from the country and bring more and more opportunities for the youth and overall people of Nepal. Mark.
Well, that's a comprehensive answer, Siddharth. But, Nepal and India share a lot of cultural bonds as well. And today is Holi. So tell us a little bit, about the celebrations of Holi in Nepal.
Okay, so in Nepal, Holi is celebrated, with much joy, excitement and fervor. But actually, the thing is there in Nepal right now, the silence period is on. So there is not much celebration happening. People are following the guidelines that has been issued by the government. And also, the celebration happened, I think, 2-3 days back here in Nepal when people celebrated Holi. But the extent of it is not that as it is usually because of the elections. And Mark, these are very, very important elections, especially after the youth-led protests which happened in the country last year in the month of September, which completely shook the country, in terms of its financial aspect and in terms of political stability as well. So these elections will revive the economy, it is expected, and also bring in some political stability. And that's what people also expect from these elections. In that manner, these are very, very crucial elections. Otherwise, a very happy Holi to you, Mark, also. But here, the celebration is not as it is on usual, Holi celebration because of the silence period, which is there in Nepal as Nepal goes to polls tomorrow, which is March 5th. Voting will begin from 7 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. in the evening. So people are looking forward to that, and they're very excited. Mood is quite electric as far as the polling is concerned, as people have a lot of expectations, including youth, who are considered a very pivotal factor in these elections, and it is expected that they will play a key role as far as these elections are concerned. Mark.
We leave it there. Thank you very much, Siddharth Bardwaj, and happy Holi to you. In fact, millions are celebrating Holi today, the festival of colors in India and across the world. Foreign leaders have extended Holi greetings, celebrating cultural unity. The Australian Prime Minister has highlighted that Holi is a time for people of Hindu and South Asian heritage to come together in celebration of shared history, heritage and traditions. The New Zealand Prime Minister has also wished citizens a happy Holi, noting the festival's message. He noted the festival's message of community and cultural harmony. In Johannesburg in South Africa, members of the Indian diaspora and local South Africans also have celebrated Holi in the vibrant festival spirit, a tradition symbolizing renewed unity as well as the triumph of good over evil. So for South Africans of Indian descent, the festival reflects a heritage as well, which has been sustained through generations, and it expresses culture, faith and community life as well.
Music and tradition fills the air as the Indian diaspora in South Africa celebrates Holi, the festival of colors. South Africa is home to a large and deeply rooted Indian diaspora community that continues to preserve cultural traditions while contributing to the country's diverse identity.
Well, Nazreen, as you can see, we're in the south of Joburg and we're having a phenomenal community night tonight. Holi, of course, Holi celebration. Happy Holi to everyone. And it's just such a vibrant atmosphere. We got dance groups performing. We've got Bollyfoot going on. We've got a DJ tonight. We have food stalls out here, and everybody is just in a vibrant, festive spirit. And just to say, Happy Holi!
These celebrations highlight the living heritage, blending ancestral customs with a distinctly South African experience. At the heart of the celebration is the Holi fire, also known as Holika Dan. Community members gathered to light the ceremonial fire, symbolizing the burning away of negativity and the victory of righteousness. Families offered prayers, walked around the fire, and shared blessings for prosperity, unity, and renewal. Values that resonate strongly within diaspora communities, maintaining traditions across generations.
South Africa celebrating like India, like our home country, India. Indian people celebrate like a what, faith, emotion. Same, we people here celebrate all function, and today special we celebrate Holi. Happy Holi, happy Holi, happy Holi, happy Holi, happy Holi, everybody happy Holi.
Beyond its symbolic meaning, Holi has evolved into a cultural gathering, welcoming people of all backgrounds. Music, traditional foods, and joyful color throwing brought together young and old in a shared celebration of heritage and harmony.
Hey guys, we from Surat. We feel like home, the energy, the vibe is same like India. Mopi, happy Holi.
We here celebrating Holi in South Africa and in Johannesburg South. We try our best to keep our Indian culture and heritage alive.
Happy Holi! What's up everybody, we having a party. What's up everybody, we having a party.
For DD India South Africa, I'm Nazneen, celebrating culture, color and community. Happy Holi!
Well, Holi was also celebrated with enthusiasm at the India House in Colombo today, and the officials and staff of the Indian High Commission there in Sri Lanka are participating in the festivities. The celebration reflected India's rich cultural traditions and the spirit of unity and harmony associated with Holi. Diplomats and their families exchanged greetings, they've applied color, and they've shared traditional sweets, creating a vibrant and festive atmosphere at the Indian diplomatic residence. You're watching DD India Newshour. Let's get you some sports news now. And the semi-finals of the ICC T20 World Cup are just about to begin. I mean, they'll be starting at 7 o'clock today. The first semi-final is South Africa taking on New Zealand at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata. South Africa, they have been the strongest team in this tournament so far, unbeaten, making them the only team with a 100% record. They won everything in the group stages and in the Super 8s. So the team will now be aiming to continue their winning streak and to book a place in the final. Well, New Zealand, on the other hand, they've had a mixed campaign because they've had some ups and downs, and they've managed to secure the spot in the last four. The Kiwis are eager to take revenge for their earlier loss to South Africa and to reach the final once again, because they were the runners-up, if we recall, in 2021. Now, looking at the head-to-head, South Africa are the winners. They out of 19 T20s between the two teams, South Africa have won 12, New Zealand have won 7. And Team India pacer Renuka Singh Thakur has been ruled out of the one-off test against Australia. The day-night pink ball test will be played at the WACA ground in Perth beginning on Friday. Renuka has been ruled out of the final of this multi-format series because of workload management. Bowling all-rounder Kashvi Gautam is going to replace Renuka. Kashvi, in fact, has played 6 ODIs for India, taking 3 wickets and has 19 wickets to her name in the 18 Women's Premier League matches that have been played. So the seven-match multi-format series began with a 3-match T20 international leg, which India won 2-1, followed by a 3-match ODI series, which the visitors were thrashed 3-0 by the dominant Australians. Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour, but let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn from all of us here. Thanks very much for watching DD India News Hour, and may your lives be filled with bright colors. Namaskar.